What's up, guys? It's Monty here for your weekly check-in of the CW's Gotham, which airs Monday nights at 8 p.m. Doing my little review of last night's episode, Spirit of the Goat, the Halloween episode. And I know last week I said that I felt that episode, the Viper episode, was the strongest of the series. And I'm going to have to change that opinion because Spirit of the Goat was definitely the strongest of the series so far, the best episode that has aired. Now, I mentioned last week that it was a strong episode, but that it had its faults. But I have to honestly say that as far as this episode goes, I didn't see too many faults. The story was solid. The mystery of the story was solid. The acting was solid. The dialogue was solid. Most of the little nitpick complaints that I make for the previous episodes of Gotham, I don't have those nitpicks for this episode. So this episode was about a masked vigilante, sort of what you would call like a proto Batman, called himself the Spirit of the Goat. And it starts off 10 years ago in Gotham. A guy who dressed up in this mask was going around basically killing the children of rich people. Had like a little vengeance quest against the 1% of society, and he was killing their children. And it shows Harvey Bullock 10 years ago in his career and everything like that, and it actually humanizes Bullock a little bit. He's less of a cartoonish character in this episode, because it shows that he actually used to be someone like Gordon. He wanted to save the city. He wanted to do the right thing and save people and help people. And this was the case that I guess kind of broke him. So we see him with his partner, and they show up to the scene where they finally confront the Spirit of the Goat character. And they take him down. They kill him. And then it cuts to 10 years later, present day Gotham, and it seems as though the Spirit of the Goat has returned. And the previous Spirit of the Goat said, like, you may kill this body, but you'll never defeat me, blah, blah, blah. And so now we're in the present, and the Spirit of the Goat has returned, and he's back to his old tricks and killing people, even though they killed the guys, which is weird. Like, what's going on? How is this? And initially they assume it's a copycat, but then there's one detail that is in line with what the other Spirit of the Goat used to do, which was never released to the public, was never released to the press. Sometimes the police do that. They withhold a piece of evidence so that in the case that something like this ever happens again, they can say, well, it has to be an accomplice. It can't just be a copycat because there's this specific detail that nobody else could have known about. So Bullock and Gordon are working the case, and they're tracking the guy down, and eventually is revealed that it is actually the work of a hypnotherapist who had been hypnotizing these people and installing these new personas into them as the Spirit of the Goat or whatever like that, to go around killing the children of rich people, as kind of like, she blames rich people for all the faults in society, saying that they're corrupt and they're greedy and they're the reason why Gotham is the way it is, and so we have to punish them so that they'll change their ways. Typical crazy stuff. And so they catch the new Spirit of the Goat, and Bullock is actually the one who puts it all together. He's the one that realizes that the hypnotherapist was doing that, and confronts her and takes her down and arrests her and everything. And during the course of the episode, a little subplot that was going on was that Barbara Gordon's ex-girlfriend, Montoya, who was working with the Major Crimes Unit, finally gets a witness and a warrant to arrest Jim Gordon for the murder of Oswald Cobblepot. And just when, Bullock is revealing the thing with the hypnotherapist back at the station, they walk in, they arrest Gordon, they start to arrest Bullock for conspiracy to commit murder for Cobblepot, and just at that moment, Oswald Cobblepot waltzes into the police station like, hey guys, I'm alive. I'm still alive. They didn't kill me. Can't arrest them now because they didn't actually murder anybody. So that's the big reveal at the end of the episode, which draws tension between Gordon and Bullock, because obviously now they're going to have to answer to Falcone for not actually murdering Cobblepot as instructed. So that's in the nutshell all the things that happen in the episode. And it was really strongly written from beginning to end. I mentioned before that the show is kind of inconsistent in its tone. It kind of flip-flops between like the campy, cartoonish kind of style Batman stuff and the dark, gritty, Burton, Nolan-esque kind of Batman stuff. But this episode was the first one that was consistently, from beginning to end, it was the dark, gritty tone of Batman. Now, if I had gone with campy, I would have been fine with that, as long as they just stuck to one. That's my major problem, is that it flip-flops between two tones. And I just kind of wish that they would pick a tone. In this episode, they totally picked the tone. They stuck with it from beginning to end. And the show really... what's the word I'm looking for here? It really benefited from that. That it was one consistent tone. And the story was solid through and through. And the acting was solid through and through. And the dialogue was solid through and through. And I felt that because of that, this was the strongest episode of the series. And this episode shows us what Gotham the series needs to be. This is what Gotham needs to be. And I hope the writers take a look at this episode and say, this is what we're doing from now on. This is how we're going with the show from now on. Personally, I prefer the dark, gritty kind of Batman stuff, because that's the kind of character Batman is. So I prefer that they stick with that tone. So I hope they stick with that throughout the rest of the series. And based on the next episode, it kind of looks like they are. They're introducing Victor Zsasz, who was a darker character. So I hope they stay consistent with that. But yeah, this is the first episode in the entire series where I was like, you know what? This might not be such a bad show after all. And I can see myself watching this on a regular basis. The one complaint that I would have, and it has nothing to do with all the other complaints, I just wish they would figure out what they're trying to do with Selina Kyle. Or if they have figured out what they're trying to do with Selina Kyle, that they start showing us that they know what they're doing with Selina Kyle. Because they just threw her into the episode for like no reason whatsoever. She breaks into Bruce Wayne's house, sees that he's tracking, all the corruption in Gotham, steals something from his desk and disappears. And there was no reason for that scene whatsoever. It didn't fit with the overall story of the episode. It didn't seem to fit with the overall story of the series with the Wayne's murders. It's just, just seemed to be like this random moment, like, hey, Bruce is still trying to figure everything out. We haven't forgotten that. Okay, fine. We know you haven't forgotten it, but it didn't really need to be in this episode. We get it. Bruce is trying to figure it out. We get it that Selina Kyle exists in this exists in this universe. It's okay to not throw in a random scene that has nothing to do with anything just to remind us of that. That's the one minor complaint that I have for this episode. But other than that, very strong episode. I dug it. I hope they continue on this particular path. And if they do, they'll make a fan of me yet. So, this is C. Monty checking in for your weekly report on Gotham. Airs Monday nights at 8 o'clock on Fox. Nerd Era, where nerd culture reigns supreme. Make sure you check out our website on Facebook at www.facebook.com/nerdera. And also make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button below so you can see more reviews like this one and see what we're doing in the future. Alright? See Monty, Nerd Era, Nerd Culture Reigns Supreme. See you next week.